Hi, my name is Bella Carrasco, and helping others feel confident about investing brings a huge smile to my face. After working in the private equity, family office, and securities markets for nearly a decade, I am breaking down the world of money, investing, and financial freedom. Work optionality isn't a dream, it's a decision you make today. I bring you actionable tips, expert interviews, and enlightening strategies to help you get richer and stay that way. This is the How Do You Know podcast. And this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Please consult with a qualified financial professional for advice specific to your situation. The views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of the podcast producers or sponsors. We make no representations or warranties regarding the accuracy or completeness of the content. I have always prided myself on living a relatively healthy life, the 80-20 rule, but up until recently, I got blood work and everything was out of whack. My liver was very elevated, my thyroid was sluggish, I was almost to prediabetes. I researched solutions and causes and was already doing everything that I had found through my research. So I was eating healthy, eating whole foods, engaging in regular exercise. But one thing I was not doing was managing my stress. So now I am a big believer in how much this can impact someone and have to put an emphasis on this. In the conversation with Alicia, she mentioned how small things can overwhelm someone, and that's where I was. I would have been way worse off getting those blood markers if I wasn't on top of my health. Nutrition wise, I always try to stick to the perimeter of the grocery store rule. I try to buy organic when I can, focus on whole foods. I also tracked my macros. What worked for me back then didn't really work for me in the present day. Our body is constantly changing and it's annoying, but women health in particular is very complicated and under-researched. There is so much research out there for men, but women are different and research is very minimal. So everything that you hear about health-wise is typically focused around the male body. And as we know, male and female are very different, especially when it comes to your body. So unfortunately, you have to find what works for you, and it's a lot of trial and error. So for example, I've done carbohydrate intolerance tests where I will eliminate carbs for 2 weeks and then slowly work those carbs back in to see how my body responds. You can get a blood work panel and try to heal from the inside out, because something we also talked about in the episode was pills. And in my opinion, pills are masking the issue. So why not stop the weed from growing and find what the source is that's causing it? There's actually a country off of South Africa who saw no cancer for many hundreds of years probably. But once visitors started to find out about the island, they started bringing their stuff. They started bringing plastic water bottles and things like that. And then the island started to see cancer. So it's a very interesting test case, and I really do believe. But personally, in my journey, going back to what I was starting off with, meaning I was doing everything correct health and exercise wise, but I was not managing my stress. And so in my journey, I've had to leave my perfectionism behind. I am very much so a stereotype firstborn child, very type A. And I know we all have different ways of managing our schedules and managing stress and achieving things. So I've had to tell myself that it is okay not to get it all done in the day that I think it needs to be done. There are plans that I have for the day, and I have to be okay with it deviating, because not every day is going to go accordingly. And so I personally have tried incorporating stress regulations. Again, you have to find what works for you. I first thing in the morning find 5 minutes to meditate. And then later on, I try to find just 1 minute in my day to be proactive with stress mitigation. So deep breathing, the shakes, arm touches, any other method that Alicia mentioned. I also, going back to when I was a child, got exposed to naturopathic back in high school. And I didn't realize how important it was until many, many years later. Western medicine typically just tries to solve your issue with a pill, but that was never good enough for me. And so I like the naturopathic approach because we find the source and then you can achieve health that way. And it boils my blood to see a bag of chips has different ingredients in Europe than in the United States, because I attribute it to us being focused on the bottom line rather than health. And you're seeing that starting to come up more and more in the States. For example, food dyes are now being phased out over the next few years, which I think is a great start. Another very important component to health is sleep. I try to prioritize this and get a good nighttime routine, but I definitely have to have a pitch black bedroom. But again, I've touched on this before, just making sure that I have time to wind down, because it's very noticeable the days that I do versus I don't. If I don't do the wind down, I am just still on the go, still thinking about what all needs to be achieved. And it's because sleep is so important, it can really just impact that night and then the following day because you don't feel as ready and energized. The biggest tip, though, is emotional regulation and mindset. If something is not sitting well with you, I always try to challenge anyone I talk with. I just ask it myself why. I look internally first. If something bad happens, just try to find the good, find the positive twist in everything. If you focus on the positive, you will be happier. There's people out there that have the victim mentality, and I am a very big proponent in believing that you let things happen to you and you let people make you feel a certain way. Ask yourself if there's any truth in what they're saying. Analyze it. Do an introspective reflection. If the answer is yes, incorporate ways to better yourself. If not, let it just be an egg on a windshield and know that we are all humans that are not perfect. Even in situations when it's hard or impossible and you don't want to find the good, just find what to be grateful for, because we all give off magnetic energy. And if you're walking around with your head down or being grumpy, then you're going to attract that energy and repel the good. Something else I really love that Alicia says is focus on what you want, not what you don't have. For example, in a tangible experience that I had this year, I got sued for the very first time, and that led me to question a lot of my decisions. It led me to a lot of fear-based decisions. And when I had conversations about it, it turns out that being sued can be very common for a business owner. And what I was trying to just focus on in terms of gratitude was that this was building me into a stronger person with resiliency, because everything has a solution and I don't need to get bogged down and just completely give up. So I tried focused on, what do I want in this situation? I want a lawyer who will help me through this so I can make it on the other side and see if this investment will play out for my future self. So again, I know that it's easier said than done, but just encourage you to really focus on the positive because it has made a huge impact on me. I hope this helps you realize how much stress does play a part in financial health, because without it, you can't think straight, can struggle with relationships. So please reach out if you want any more tips or to talk through anything you're struggling with. Until next time. Adios. Thank you for tuning in today. If you found any value and want to support the podcast, I would be forever grateful if you texted someone the link. You can say that you have a podcast episode that may be interesting for them. Also, if you have questions or topics you want covered, please don't hesitate to reach out on LinkedIn or Instagram. Remember that every step makes a difference. I hope that you continue to learn how to get richer and stay that way.